In this corner, standing at 6'5", weight class unknown, but hailing from the city of sin, put your hands together for Jamieson Welsh. And in this corner, standing at 5'10", weighing in at pounds, and coming to us from his super secret bunker with no AC in Tucson, Arizona, put your hands together for Luis Mayer.
All right, welcome back to another edition of the Mix Company Podcast. Of course, I'm one of the hosts, Jamieson Welsh, and of course, I'm joined by Luis. Luis, it's been a couple weeks, lots going on. What's going on?
Well, a lot has been happening in the boxing world, but yeah, I'm really happy to be back on the mic. A little bummed out that spooky season is over. Now we're in Thanksgiving season, but that's fine. I'm going to keep the horror movies going all year long, and now I'm going to prep to stuff my fat face with a bunch of turkey and mashed potatoes and everything. So
fair enough.
Yeah. No, it's not that. You know what? I don't like Christmas, honestly. I like Halloween, Thanksgiving era, but the Christmas music, I'm just so sick of it. It's the same damn songs, and I kind of hate it. So I've grown to hate it so much. I don't know about you.
It is what it is. I don't take much to it. Like, I don't even be thinking about it. It comes and goes, so I don't pay no mind to it. I just, but the holidays, it's one of those things where it comes, it goes, and we just keep it moving.
That's fair. I mean, and it's easier for us because we don't have kids, so we don't have to worry about it. Exactly. All right, so let's get into the news, man. Let's talk about what's been going on. That's our recurring segment, the Boxing Gazette, the finest source in boxing news, brought to you, as always, by our sponsor, Delightful Smoke Shop here in Tucson. Thanks to them for sponsoring the segment. So, yeah, the biggest thing that we got to talk about is... Actually, let me start here. We got to do a quick promo because last week, as you know, you weren't able to participate, but... the show was invited to the Tucson Celtic Festival to do a remote episode. So our producer, Jabari Davis, and I, we went out there to the fest. We recorded actually a 15-minute mini episode that's available on YouTube right now. And it was a hell of a lot of fun. We had a good time.
Okay.
So I'm going to give y'all... It was great. So the fest was Scottish Heritage Fest. It had some people throwing logs and like hay bales. There was like food. There was drinks. So... there's music. There's really good people playing playing in a band with like guitars and drums and also bagpipes, mixed into the style of music. So it was a lot of fun.
Okay. Cool. Good to hear. Good to hear.
Let's check out this quick little reel for everybody to give a preview of that episode. Some fans of the show invited us to do a special remote episode at the Tucson Celtic Festival.
Hey, Jabari Davis here, producer for the Mix Company Podcast.
This is the reason the show exists, so we're going to ask him a little bit about his history with boxing and where his love of it came from.
And then as the fight's wrapping up, I'm like, hey, it's probably time to go. And everybody made it home safely that day. That's not always the case, hence the Mix Company Podcast.
Hey. Apologies, I said Scottish heritage. I meant Celtic heritage to encompass, a lot of that region. But yeah, we have all these episodes are up on YouTube. We have a playlist under the 19 Media Group channel, and that Celtic Festival video is exclusively on YouTube. So please go check that out. I edited the video myself. Interviewed our producer about his, not just where his love of boxing came from, but how the show started, where the idea came from. So. It was a good time.
Okay. Cool. Good to hear.
Yeah. So let's jump on into the official boxing news. So the biggest thing that happened very recently is that the Paul versus Tank Davis fight was officially canceled due to Tank Davis getting into more legal trouble after he allegedly put his hands on another woman. He choked a woman allegedly in a strip club. And he has a restraining order filed against him, and there is a civil lawsuit. No criminal charges, it appears, but he is being sued in civil court. And that was enough for the Paul team, the MVP team, to call the entire fight off. This man just cannot stop putting his hands on women. It's a sickness, it seems like. And I wasn't excited about this Paul fight anyway, but I think this goes to show we talked in a previous episode about Tank Davis's legacy, and this is just gonna sour the end of his career even more. So what are your thoughts on all this?
So I don't even know, to be honest with you, what his career is anymore. I don't, because yeah, he was a great boxer and he knocked guys out, but it's too much that's happened outside the ring that is now covering up for what he did in the ring. And it's very unfortunate, but it's to the point now where it's one thing to have one bad situation. Things happen to anyone. We are not perfect people. None of us are perfect. We're all human. We all make mistakes. However, the same mistake can't happen like 5 times with the same exact situation. It can't. Like, I'm not a big fan of people hitting women. Like, that's not cool. Especially when you have his skill set in his profession. That should not be happening. So to be honest with you, man, I'm cool on him. These things just can't keep happening. It can't keep over and over and over again. It can't be the same thing every time when something happens, you're accused of hitting someone. Come on, man. Like, what are we doing? It keeps on happening. It keeps on happening. And it's been a while since we talked about boxing with him. That real boxing. It's been too long since we focused on the actual sport itself, not some gimmick, not money, but actual boxing. The last time he was in a ring, he got outboxed for 12 whole rounds, and no one's talking about that. And now we don't know when he's going to fight again or if he ever does.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll make this very clear when it comes to boxers getting in trouble. If a boxer's caught with drugs or something like that, man, I don't give a shit. I do not care, honestly. That's not a scandal. That's not like an issue. But this is different. Putting your hands on somebody, on a woman, or on anybody, that's a big deal. And yeah, that's just not okay. Period. But I'm the guy who's if a boxer is like drunk at a strip club or whatever, obviously you shouldn't be doing that because you should be in the gym, you should be focused, ready for fighting. But at the end of the day, if they get back into the gym and they're ready for fight night, I do not care. None of that matters to me. But this actual assault against women, like that's just too much to put up with. And yeah, like it's a very good point that this guy's been in the news for other bullshit that's not, wow, that fight he had was great, or whatever. The last fight was in March of this year. I just looked it up. The Lamont Roach fight was March of this year, and everything since has just been bullshit.
It's been bullshit. Yeah. That's the issue. And the thing is, you keep getting accused of the same crime. You keep getting accused of the same thing now. This is a civil suit, happened at a strip club. All bets are off on what actually happened in there because it's he say, she say. It's a strip club. Who knows? However, with his reputation, you can't keep on getting accused of this. It cannot happen. Now, if it happened in a strip club, there's a pretty good chance that there's footage of this. If there is footage of this, if he did indeed hit a woman out of the blue for no reason, I don't see him fighting again. I don't.
Yeah, and even though I said I never really cared about the Paul fight anyway, I think there has to be consequences to this behavior, and him losing out on this definitely was going to be a bag. It was going to be a big bag. Him losing out on that, you know what? Good. I don't feel bad for the guy. I don't feel bad for definitely don't care about losing this fight at all. But yeah, I mean, it's when we talked about Tank's legacy, I said, people have a lot of recency bias. They tend to kind of remember what happens at the tail end more so. Not to say that, well, for example, it's a very different situation. Manny Pacquiao never got in trouble like this, but he had a great career, had a few losses, and we always talk about the knockout where he got knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez because that was near the end of his career. That's just kind of is always there, like following him around. But so that's kind of just how people work, I think, how people's brains work. They remember the most recent thing for a lot of fighters. For a lot of celebrities too, whatever, it's right. Some musician has a great career and they come out with a crappy album and then people just don't stop talking about how that last album was shitty forever,
True.
So I think this is definitely just adding more, just making Tank's legacy seems shittier and shittier with more things that happen like this. Him taking the Paul fight and not taking the Lamont Roach rematch was part of the problem for him. But man, it's I think the size is going to be remembered as that guy who, oh yeah, he was pretty good, I guess, but then, he got into some shit and did some stupid crap, and then he just kind of fizzled out. And I don't know that we'll be talking about Tank Davis in like 5 years, to be quite honest with you.
We will, because not a whole lot of guys that can do pay-per-views, technically. So whenever you're a guy that can do pay-per-view and you're gone, you will be missed in some way, shape, or form. The issue I have with it is we never saw Tank in his prime. We never seen him take an elevation to take the next step as a boxer. We never saw like, oh, he's up in level. He took us. We never seen that. Like, we didn't see the Terrence Crawford of his game. We never saw like, oh, he's taking it. We never got to see that, and it's unfortunate because he had that potential. Unfortunately, it's long gone, and it's not happening.
Yeah. So, RIP to that fight. People or Jake Paul's already talking about finding a new opponent, and I was just kind of like, so
Yeah,
good luck to. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, there was talks of him potentially fighting Francis Ngannou, and I'm like, you know what?
He came out immediately and said, "Nah, like no."
Okay, I didn't see that. Yeah, Ngannou deserves way better because he won that Tyson Fury fight. God damn it.
Sure did.
All right, another topic. This is the show to air some grievances with the people that we keep crapping on, because Top Rank. Last week there was a fight between Mikaela Mayer and Canadian boxer Mary Spencer that I was excited to watch. I went on Instagram. They even gave you a list of how to watch. Top Rank still doesn't have a TV deal, but they're figuring it out. They had a little list of where you can watch. It was Tubi, Pluto TV, the Roku app, and it was free. I was like, that's cool. Okay, you know what, Top Rank? I appreciate that. Maybe some of y'all get calls from your grandparents on how to the computer question on how to watch this. What is Tubi TV? But
right.
Every smart TV has Tubi and Pluto, and it's free. They got commercials. But then it was Friday. I was like waiting for, kind of figuring out what time it's going to be, where I was going to be out for Halloween. Turns out the fight was actually the night before on Thursday. And turns out it was at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, wow.
That I would watch at 5 p.m. Like, who the hell's going to watch that, Top Rank? Like, I'm sorry. That's not what boxing is. Yeah, like, I can't remember the last time that, a boxing match was before 7. Something like
that's
that.
Crazy.
Yeah, and the worst part of it too is yes, it was on me because I just kind of assumed it would be on Friday, but also it's stupid Instagram's algorithm. They're like showing you things from 2 days before, and they're like, tomorrow it's the on Don't Miss Mikaela Mayer on Top Rank, and I'm like, yeah, I know tomorrow because it's gonna be Friday. You know what I mean? It just gets all confused. So, but yeah, I mean, boxing on Thursday is a little unorthodox anyway because it's a Friday, Saturday night sport. But my birthday last year, there was a Teofimo Lopez fight on Thursday night. On my actual birthday, went out to the Silver Room in Midtown, cool little dive bar. And I was there kind of just like waiting, like, all right, come on, Teo. It's going to get like 10 p.m. When are you coming out?
Huh?
Because, again, that's when you expect the boxing match to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why the hell am I ever going to be ready? Like, for me as a boxing fan, I'm not going to be like, oh, it's 5 p.m. I got to turn on this fight I want to watch, this main event. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, Top Rank, you just continue to disappoint me. And if you want to be on Tubi and show all your fights there, cool. Like, that's awesome. I even saw people on Instagram saying, hey, free fights. That's cool. Everybody's got access to it as long as they have a smart TV. But it's this whole Thursday night at 5 p.m. shit. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking.
So they take advantage of us. They take our watchability for granted. The powers that be need to get this figured out. I don't have nothing against Tubi. People make money on there. I have nothing against them, but boxing deserves better. Boxing deserves way better than that. However, when you don't have a main contract, when things are unsettling, when you're in business with different entities and different people, these are things that can happen, unfortunately. So here we are. We're dealing with all these outside entities and all these people who don't have boxing's best interests at heart. They're just trying to make the most money as possible. This is what you get. Like, we're used to the HBO, Showtimes, ESPNs. Going forward, I have no idea what to expect, to be honest with you. None.
Right. For me, it's just the consistency. If you tell me that every Top Rank fight for the next year is going to be on Tubi, okay, cool. Then I know where I'm going to be on fight night. That's awesome. Right. But it's this same thing too. Well, consistency with times of the main events. And here's the thing: at first, I was like, "Wait a second, is this time stupid because it's like overseas or something?" No, it was in Canada, like it was in Montreal. So it's like it's not a matter of international time zone. So I was bummed out about it because I was actually very interested in watching the fight. We're big supporters of women's boxing here, but you can't. Yeah, you can't expect even like really hardcore boxing fans to be ready at 5 p.m. on a Thursday for a main event. That's just not.
I mean, hell, a lot of
just
people are not even off work yet. Like, it just doesn't make
exactly.
sense.
So people are in traffic, getting home from work. They get off at 5, and then they're stuck in traffic. And by the time they get home, it's like the last 2 rounds already. Especially with a women's fight because it's only 10 rounds. Like they're gonna miss that damn fight. So now 8 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, I'll give that a little bit of more leeway. But this was before the time change. Me in Arizona, 5 p.m. is when that was.
That's not gonna work. That don't work.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned the Canelo Crawford fight was a little too late because when did that start on the East Coast? Was it like close to 1?
I think it will start at 1 a.m. Eastern time. I believe right around 1. 10 here. A fight starting at 10 our time was rough for what we're used to. We've seen fight starts early as 8 p.m. 7:30, 8 p.m. But yeah, it was ridiculous. But again, when you got multiple entities running the show, you got multiple agendas going on. This is what takes place.
Right. Well, and in terms of a fight being too late, I think because boxing has always been a late night thing, in my mind, I'm gonna say that as long as that first bell rings no later than midnight, that's still cool. I'm cool with that.
On a Saturday.
On a Saturday, yes. Yeah, I guess on a Saturday. Yeah. I mean, that for me, it's also like that's the thing about watching boxing, staying up late as a kid in the summers on weekends. Sometimes I would just channel surf and there would just be random boxing matches in the middle of the night, like the replaying matches at like 1-2 that I watch. So at the end, boxing has always been a middle of the night thing. So yeah, as long as that bell rings 12 a.m. first bell, fight starts in less than an hour, I'll let that slide.
Fair enough.
Moving on. Speaking of Tank Davis, actually, 2 of his former opponents will be fighting each other December 6th. Lamont Roach versus Pitbull Cruz. So, first things I want to say about this is I'm glad Lamont Roach just kind of moved on and stopped kind of hanging around waiting for that rematch that wasn't going to happen. I still think Tank Davis was too scared to rematch Roach, and that's I'm going to stand by that. But this is actually exciting. Both guys went the distance with Tank. Pitbull Cruz, yes, they both lost the fight, but Pitbull Cruz is excellent, aggressive fighter. He's got that name for a reason, and it'd be really interesting to watch these 2 guys with those skills. And we've said before, people who lose to Tank seem to learn from that loss. Rolly Romero lost to Tank and then had an excellent upset against Ryan Garcia. So I think we're going to see these 2. I'm excited about this fight. These 2 guys kind of. Lamont Roach has heat on his name that he really needed to use this year. The best thing to do was run it back against Tank, but if that wasn't going to happen, I think it's a good matchup. And I don't know. I mean, do we think that Lamont Roach is going to be a name to keep an eye on? While being very transparent about the fact that we were both like, man, fuck this fight. Nobody cares about Tank versus Roach.
Here's the thing. That's how it starts, right? Like at first, it's just another guy, and then you're like, oh, now with Roach, it's gonna be interesting to see if he's gotten better, if he's taking everything seriously, if he's ready to take that next step, or he was excited to fight Tank. He's from DC, Tank's from Baltimore. It's a huge rivalry, et cetera, et cetera. So it'll be interesting to see him in there with a different fighter, what the mindset is, what's going on. I'll be very curious to see his level of preparation and where his mental's at for this upcoming fight, because he wins this fight after his last showing, then he gets other big fights. If he loses this fight, it's over. He's not getting another look. And that's just how it goes.
Yeah, and I've always thought that's kind of unfair. I mean, you can. I think we tend to, not we necessarily, but just the boxing world just tends to write dudes off after a couple of losses. Like, but
it's a cold game, man. Like, think of it. It's a commission-based job, if that makes sense. If you do well, you get paid and rewarded well. If you don't, you lose and you basically get fired one way, shape, or form.
That's true. I mean, I I think we got to give our fighters a little bit more grace. Yes, you can underperform, but man, it's still, you got to understand like how much uh, effort and time and how honestly dangerous it is that they're getting in there. And I think we kind of uh, just kind of disregard folks too quickly, if I'll put it that way.
We do. You're right. However, the way the game goes, when I mean we don't hear from them again, they don't get any big fights. Once you get a chance, you better take advantage of it because, like everything else, everything moves fast. So if you're not winning, people aren't going to concentrate on someone that's not winning. It just doesn't work that way. Boxers, it's like we talked about Danny last show. Danny Garcia is a prime example of that. He got his one shot, took advantage of it, became a star boxer, made a lot of money, won some belts. Don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but he's had a hell of a career. Those are when you get your opportunity, you better strike and you better win. Now, Roach got screwed because Roach probably should have won the fight versus Tank. Probably should have won. But you got a lot of eyes on you now. People know who you are. They know what you're capable of. So this fight, we expect just as good of a performance, if not better.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest issue, like I said, the biggest handicap that he had is that when you look like you should have won a fight, when you had a good performance, you run it back. That's just how that shit goes.
Yep.
You run it back, and then you show whether that was a fluke or if you had the skills. You definitely had the skills. Yeah, you just come out better the on the other side of it. I'm excited about Roach versus Pitbull Cruz, but I don't think that's what he should have used his improved skills to do. You gotta show the people who won, thought that you should have won, that they were right about you, but also the people that said, nah, screw you, Roach, you're full of shit, blah, blah, blah. You got to shut those haters up too. You know what I mean? That's kind of the arc of this type of fight that we saw. So I'm a little bummed that we never got to see that rematch, but I'm happy for Roach that he is using the heat on his name to do something else and something exciting, and Pitbull's no joke. That man is I've seen him fight several times now. He's a challenge no matter what. So
no, he's legit. He's definitely legit for sure. And he normally is a guy that you're gonna have an action fight. It's not just a guy that's gonna just there to pat. No, he's gonna be there to force action and force you to fight him. So that should be a good match. Like looking at it, it's a pretty good matchup. Whoever wins that probably gets a pretty good fight in somewhere in 26, probably for a belt.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Pitbull is not a boring fighter. So, and I definitely think Roach is going in there expecting that. Think is another classic mixed company fight because Pitbull is a Mexican guy, Roach black man.
But it's the lower profile one though. This is not
sure.
So the emotions, all right. So the mixed company is mainly for the big fights. It's mainly for the big fight. So when you think of all the De La Hoya versus Pernell and Floyd versus De La Hoya and Floyd versus Canelo, all those are big fights. A lot of emotion in those. There's a lot marketing. It's a lot going on 24/7, all access, et cetera, et cetera. Mixed company don't apply to this fight. It don't really apply. All right. You can, but the emotions ain't there. Like, Floyd was a scumbag. However, we love that scumbag because he represented black people in the ring in a weird way. That's just what it was. Like, that's how you want to describe it. That's what it was. So, but yeah, this fight is like, it's mixed company, but it's kind of not, if that makes sense.
100% makes sense. I understand what you're saying. I will say also, not but, and also, I live in Tucson. So if I were to, be, where I go to see fights, is the neighborhood. It's straight up a Mexican sports bar. So yeah. So if I was a fan of Lamont Roach and wanted him to win this fight, I'm not really going either way. I just want to see a great match. But if I was, going in there rooting for Lamont Roach, I would maybe want to not be that excited about it. Kind of like when I saw Shakur Stevenson versus Oscar Valdez there. I was all in for Shakur, but I was, just kind of, I didn't walk up with my Shakur Stevenson t-shirt showing it off or anything like that. So yeah, it's still a consideration, especially in areas of Tucson that are not just very heavily Mexican, Hispanic, brown, but also a little stabby, which that neighborhood is. So yes, you're 100% right. It's not the same, but there's still some consideration there, at least for me being in Arizona where there's shitload of us Mexicans. But But yeah, that'll be December 6th. I'm stoked actually, and another thing too, I kind of hate not knowing things. Like that's kind of also why I just kind of focus on fights when they're announced and they have the date. This back and forth, like who are you going to fight, who's going to be next, blah blah blah. I never really liked it, but I always kind of just wanted to know what Lamont Roach was going to do with his cachet. So this is kind of like, oh, finally, thank God, we get to see the man back, and not what I wanted to see, but I'm happy for him that he came out on top after this year's debacle. So hey, good year for Lamont Roach, no matter what.
Most definitely.
All right, here's a big one we got to get into. Talks, so-called serious talks of Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather for 2026. My response is, and I mean, this we could just kind of like just share our thoughts here and how you feel about it. I'll let you go first.
Man, the problem with these fights is they're only relevant because we don't have enough young guys fighting often. That's when that comes up, because we wouldn't be focused on older guys if we had enough younger guys doing what they're supposed to do. We don't have that. Like, we don't know when Shakur Stevenson's like, we don't know his next situation. We don't. Like, it sucks, but we don't know, like, hey, he wins the next fight, he's going to do this, and that, and third. We don't know any of that. Like, we don't know, like, hey, if James Boots does this, and this, he's doing that. Like, it's not good. Like, our good fighters are not fighting other good fighters. It feels like our good fighters are always fighting tune-up guys, and that's the problem. And they're making a lot of money doing so it doesn't force the really good matchups that we've been dying to see. So right now we're just going around the circle of tune-up fight for the tune-up fight for the tune-up fights, and then when somebody wants to fight somebody, oh, well, I'm not the A-side, or I need this, and it's next thing, and then you lose interest. So then this bullshit comes up. It's like, oh, two big names that people know. Oh, I'm in. And it's like, nah, that's not. We didn't come from that. Like, that's not how it's supposed to go. It's not. And here we are.
Yeah, I totally agree with all that. And also, what really, really bothers me is that Manny Pacquiao came back and was it a legitimate fight for a legitimate belt that wasn't a showcase, wasn't a money. I mean, sure, it was a money grab for him because he needed the cash, but you know what I mean. It was against a legitimate fighter for a belt, and same thing. This goes I picked this topic next because it went very well with the Lamont Roach thing. I wanted to see, once he demonstrated that he still had it. Sure, wasn't prime Manny, but hey, who was? He looked good. He looked better than I expected. I will also admit I was on the record as saying I thought he was going to be washed. I thought it was going to be an easy win for Mario Barrios. I was wrong. I'll never be afraid to admit that I was wrong. But with that, I was excited. Like, okay, my man, what else you got? What else you got in the chamber? What are you going to do? And it's just kind of, it's just lazy. It's another Netflix, potentially a Netflix event where, Netflix being involved in boxing is potentially a good thing, but they have to be a stepping stone for more fighters, as opposed to just kind of going to the biggest name possible for the biggest, they're all Jake Paul fights are going to be on Netflix now, it appears. And it's kind of annoying. They're not really using, I don't know which one is where the problem is, that Netflix isn't using boxing as like a long-term relationship, or boxing doesn't really think of Netflix as a long-term relationship. Like somebody's got cold feet. Somebody is a commitment phobe here. I don't know which one. Maybe it's both of them. And it's just not exciting. You kind of want the comforting, like a marriage with boxing. You want to know that, you got somebody there. They're going to be, you're going to be able to see them on, when you get off of work, and not worry about, somebody, if they're going to leave you on red, or who they're talking to next, or who they're going to be making. I thought you were hanging out with me this weekend. Now you're hanging out with fucking Tubi.
All right.
That's kind of how I feel about it. And I thought a Netflix partnership would be a great, great option, but I'm not so sure anymore.
So Netflix is in it for the money. Like, let's call it what it is. They're in it for the cash. They're not in it for anything else. They're literally in this for the cash. They're in it for the fights that make sense financially. They're going to be there for. I don't see them putting together a Friday night card or a Saturday Palooza one day a quarter. I don't see that. Could change, absolutely, but I don't. They're in it for the views. That's what they make their money off of. They get to advertise Netflix and all the other program that they offer throughout that whole time block. So I get their process. The Jake Paul thing has ruined boxing. It's really ruined boxing for traditionalists like us. It's not real. It's a bunch of BS. Jake Paul don't care about the sport. He cares about making money. So when he fights, it brings a lot of attention to the sport, but for all the wrong reasons. And that has messed up all the other fights that are actually boxing matches because his numbers and his stats, when it comes to the watchability and the views and the metrics, are all intertwined. So that's where things are messed up at. That's why it's hard to find a good fight on TV these days without having to pay for some random subscription you're only going to use once every 6 months. So it's just all bad right now. With that being said, I don't hate Jake Paul because he's not doing anything that he shouldn't be doing. I hate people that support the bullshit that Jake Paul does and people who put the money behind him and resources behind the bullshit. That's what I don't like. And until that stops, we're going to keep on getting it. But he makes so much money and he's liked by so many people. This is what it is now. So we got to get comfortable with this new reality.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. I mean, my thing is that everybody thinks short term and short term cash at the moment. I'm not just talking about fighters. I'm talking about streaming networks, this and that. I mean, and just to kind of get into Netflix's model. I mean, the people who watch a lot of Netflix originals, I don't really, but I've heard so many times over the years, oh man, I'm really into the show and it just got canceled after 2 seasons or after 1 season.
That part too.
Yeah, they're not really the long-term commitment type. They want to hit it and quit it after a couple of seasons.
I mean, they'll put 12 episodes on. They'll put a whole season on Friday at midnight, and yeah, I mean that's what they do. So if yes, people aren't watching, then it is what it is. So boxing's in a very weird spot, man. Like we talk about often, it's in a weird spot. There's definitely good fights to be made, great fights to be made still, but at the moment, it's in a weird spot. And I don't have the answers on what gets out of the spot.
Yeah, what really needs to happen, and I'm not saying that I have the answers or how this could possibly work, is that it needs to be treated as something with potential again, because it needs to foster time and for people to grow for it to grow fans of certain fighters, of young fighters, of people who will follow their person. Tank Davis is a pay-per-view name. Canelo is probably still is for this year, for this coming year, a pay-per-view name, and we don't have a lot more, but where the hell are we going to get them if they're not actually fighting? You know what I mean?
That and the couple of names you mentioned are on the way out. Like Canelo's on the way. You got a couple more, and then he's out. Same thing with Tank. We may never fight again. As great as Bud Crawford is, I don't know if he could do a pay-per-view right now. Probably could, but the numbers wouldn't be great. So it's rough. We're in a rough spot right now.
Well, but also let's not. Okay, that's 100% true. I also don't think that Bud will do a great pay-per-view. But we also talked about how the pay-per-view model isn't the thing right now. That it's not like the '90s. The '90s was absolutely how fighters were some of the best paid athletes in the world. That model has changed, and now we do need, for better or worse, to focus on subscription services, apps, Netflix, Tubi, etc., whatever.
Right.
But they need to. Both sides need to realize that it's not just, well, let's put this fight on Netflix. Let's throw this fight on Tubi.
Right.
Like, there really needs to be a place to go for all of boxing that isn't just the zone. Let's be real. And here's the thing, too. Turkey Al Sheikh, the promoter from Saudi Arabia, has said, the area of pay-per-view is over. And then isn't the next David Benavidez fight also pay-per-view now?
True. And I think it's going to be case by case when it comes to these things. And I shouldn't use the word pay-per-view when I talk about Terrence Crawford. It's about marketing wise. Like, as great of a boxer as he is, and he's definitely the best boxer walking and breathing now, he needs a big name besides him to have a mega fight. Like, him alone is not a mega fight, unfortunately. And it takes nothing away from how great he is. He's just a boxer that he don't do nothing else extra. Like, he's not a rapper. He don't have no crime outside the boxing ring. He don't have no celebrity girlfriend. Like, he has none of that. So he's just a great boxer, and that's fine. When it comes to marketability and for mega fights, he needs an opponent that is equally as popular, or if not more popular than he is, in order to make that happen. And that's just not in the cards right now. Some of the names I've heard and seen, in connection with his next fight, like 4 years ago, those would be on ESPN Friday night, Saturday night, top rank card. So I don't want to see him fight a Charlo twin. I don't. No one wants to see that. There's no need for that. So
Well,
yeah,
let's speculate a bit now that you mentioned that, because yes, they're mentioning a potential Charlo fight against Bud. Okay, so now that we know that Top Rank is just kind of like playing the field with Tubi and Pluto TV, etc.,
mhm.
and he's not a big pay-per-view name. His mega fight against Canelo was on Netflix. Let's say Bud fights a Charlo next. Where the hell is that going to air? Who's like which network, which streaming service, which
Man,
promotion? Like,
that's a
are we
great
going to see
question.
Bud Crawford on Tubi TV? Of
It
course I'll
wouldn't
tune in to
su-
watch.
it wouldn't surprise me if Bud fell on a random app or random stream that maximized back for him. It wouldn't surprise me, and he's done enough in boxing to do that. He's done enough in boxing to where, you know what? I understand what you're doing. I understand the play here. Get your money. I'm not saying I want to see it, but I understand if he were to go that route. But for him, he don't really care about those things. So I'd probably guess like an Amazon or a Netflix. So I'd guess.
I guess Amazon would probably be the most likely because they're still
Yep.
they're still involved. It appears. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he could just kind of go to left field and go to YouTube, a free fight on YouTube live there. Of course, it's not going to be free for him, and YouTube does have deep pockets.
Yep.
They're increasing, not deep enough to keep ESPN because they just dropped it from YouTube TV, and I think they just
All
increased the
that.
price
I
on
saw
everything.
that.
So it's a mess, man. It's wild just seeing where it's the not knowing, it's the speculation, and we could talk about, okay, just a year ago, 2 years ago, you could say, all right, this fighter, whoever he is, he's kind of a mid-range name, not super big, kind of popular, this and that. But they're with Top Rank. They're going to be on ESPN Fighter Saturday night. Boom.
Yep.
That's and so maybe some bigger folks, they go to the PBC, they go to Amazon, etc. But you always knew that Old Faithful was there, ESPN Saturday nights, and it is so weird just talking about the sport without that ongoing of like maybe not every Saturday, but you know what I mean.
Right.
Most Saturdays you'd be able to tune in and there'd just be a fight, and I don't care. I just like watching fights, even if I don't know the names of the people in the match. When you're at home, it got nothing to do, you're bored, you don't want to go out, you're too broke, you're hungover, boom, let's watch some boxing.
Right.
And that's gone. That's fucking gone, and it's so weird.
It's unfortunate too. Like I think a big part is unfortunate. We don't have. It sucks to say this, but back in the day, we'd have up and comers that you watched because you saw them on every undercard, and they became up and comers to guys that you co-featured on fights, and then became feature fighters. We don't have that no more, man. Like there's no, either you are a name or you're not. Like there's no up and coming or mid tier. Either you're an up and coming name or you're just another guy that fights somebody with a name. And I think that's also hurt things because we're not developing fighters anymore. We're developing brands. We're developing names. So if you're not able to do that, then you're kind of get washed to the side and fight for peanuts and hope to get your chance.
Right. And I imagine too, it's another thing for a young fighter that's getting their name out there. They're pro, but they have a couple fights under their belt, literally. They want to sign with somebody or get involved with some promotional company. They're gonna want to be somebody that gets a lot of eyeballs on them.
Absolutely.
So I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that life or what you're looking for. But if I'm a young guy and I got some heat on skills and heat on social media, for example, and they tell me like, well, you can sign here to fight on Tubi, I don't think there's a problem with that. But for a kid that grew up watching Tyson or Canelo and the big pay-per-view fights, watching Floyd, and watching Money Mayweather, lay those stacks of cash out, you're like, well, okay, that's cool. Like that's what I aspire to, because of course you want to be a star. Nobody wants to be a boxer and just be a bum.
Yep.
You aspire to that, and now you got. No disrespect to Tubi, but it is also very, very different from even the cachet of an ESPN. Say what you will about them, like that is the biggest name in sports. You know what I mean?
Facts.
And now there's every other sport is on there except yours as a young guy. I can't imagine. That's gotta suck.
That's real.
Anyway, staying on the topic of the Mayweather Pacquiao fight, I want to get your take on just where. Socially speaking, racially speaking, we think we stand today. You've mentioned before, you have said before about how there was a big divide between their fans. You're either Mayweather Pacquiao guy.
Absolutely.
You've also said, which we to make very clear, because this is the show we're on, a lot of people gravitated toward Manny Pacquiao because of racism. They did not want to support a black fighter, a boisterous black fighter, a man who ran his mouth, and a lot of people do not like that. And so just want to get your take on, as someone who, again, never really paid attention to what happened outside the ring. What was the people that really shied away from Floyd? I mean, what was it about him specifically other than just being a black guy?
He was loud. He was loud. He was obnoxious, and he was rich. And he constantly reminded you how rich he was. He constantly reminded you that I got more money than you, and I'm making this shit look easy, and I'm getting paid more money than you ever could get in your life. That's what it was, and it was constant. It was every day. And the biggest thing is more people tuned in to see him lose and win, and that's always an odd thing. But he mastered that, and he became his aura, in a sense, is people want to tune in and see if he's going to lose. And when you get that, you mastered the marketing, and he's a great marketer. But it was basically a lot of people didn't like how arrogant he was, and the constant flashing of money, cars, jewelry, etc. They turned off a big section of this country with that.
Right. Not to say that these two are in any way the same by any means, but my issue with Jake Paul is that a lot of people also tune in to watch him lose, that they're hoping that he loses. But with him, it's not a matter of he's just so skilled that he's going to win every time. It's just, he picks fake fights. He picks, tomato cans.
Yeah, man, it's not the same, man. It's not the same. And like no one takes him seriously. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't take him seriously. He's just a guy. Like, I mean, he's making a lot of money, so God bless him. But no one cares. At the end of the day, no one boxing wise cares. He's not gonna fight a real boxer. Like, I don't know what would have happened between him and Tank. I don't know if Tank's gonna literally hit him. But we don't care. Like, that wasn't no.
Yeah, but sorry, that's just an aside. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, has Floyd Mayweather's kind of esteem changed in people's mind? Because he's also, here's the thing. What has he actually been doing? He hasn't been involved in anything that I've seen in other brands. Like, he's been just quiet. He's just been enjoying his fat stacks of cash, I guess.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of business deals and whatnot, so he's taking care of that. But yeah, there's nothing.
But there's no, like, I've never seen, like, oh, he's got his energy drink. That's what people usually do. Got an energy drink. He's got whatever advertising for betting companies. Advertising for any of that stuff. He didn't seem to be doing any of that mess.
He's doing a lot of business stuff. I know that. I know he's involved with a lot of business deals, a lot of real estate. But other than that, like, boxing is not really involved like that. Especially not day to day.
Yeah. So, how do we feel about it? Is there going to be another racial divide for Pacquiao Mayweather 2026?
So, the racial divide is when people care. People don't care about this fight, so it's whatever. Now, 10 years ago when they fought, absolutely. But between 2008 and that fight, there was a big divide because you're either one side or the other. You couldn't be neutral. So it was huge back in the day. Now they're both washed up. No one cares.
Well, and I think about it too. It's something that we are missing as well these days. Is very few fighters have that big of a fan base where it's you're either this person or that person. Not really. I mean, yes, there's the big fights where Canelo versus Bud. It's like black versus Mexican, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. But something like I don't know, it would be the equivalent of I know Chavez versus De La Hoya. Right? Like you were either you were, if you're a Chavez guy, you were not a De La Hoya fan.
Right.
And I've alluded before in my show, my mother to this day says terrible things about De La Hoya. My own mother, who I was like, Mom, you can't say that shit. But yeah, we don't. Do we really have anybody like that today? Two fighters that just kind of not just evoke passion because you're a fan of the fighter, but like you're a fan of the fighter and you hate the fans of the other fighter. You know what I'm saying? Like, we lost that too.
We definitely lost that. It's not the same anymore. But also, it's not marketed the same. These guys are making money and ducking off. They're not on social media like that. It's just not the same. It's a different era, different generation.
Yeah, I feel like this episode has been, I'm not going to say a bummer, but it's definitely been a lot of, kind of the darker side of the boxing world these days. Absolutely. What it's been like. But hey, you know what? That's important too. I still love it. This is the greatest sport in the world. I can watch a fight and just be super excited. Even if I don't know the fighters, I can be just obsessed with watching the way they move, the skills they have, super inspired and all that. But there's a lot of things about boxing that's trash, and we gotta take the good and the bad together. We're not just gonna sit here and just talk about how everything is hunky dory. And hey, we've always strived to be a very real show about real issues in the sport. So, well, moving on to something that we can absolutely talk about, the heydays of the show. We're going to move into our segment called Pop Pugilism, a recurring segment in which we talk about a movie or TV show about boxing, documentaries as well, which is what we're talking about today. And as always, this segment is brought to you by our friends at the Bad Movies, Worst People podcast. And we've got a commercial to run from them. Let's check them out.
Guys, I got a new philosophy, right? Life is a lot like a bad movie. It can suck. But if you get together with friends and you drink, you can at least have a good time while the movie sucks.
What about other things? Can you do other things?
You can have any sort of caveat you want. But I just do you guys want to get together and just watch bad movies and make fun of them?
Yeah, I do that anyway, by myself.
Might as well do it together.
Ooh, I'll get silver bullets.
I think we can start a podcast, guys.
I think we should.
I have a great name for it. Bad Movies, Worst People. And you'll be able to find it anywhere you can get podcasts, or you can go to badmoviesworstpeople.com.
That's amazing.
And you can tell there's no actors on this podcast. It's really painfully clear that the acting is not where we shine.
Yes, it's very clear.
Very clear.
Thanks a lot, guys. Badmoviesworstpeople.com. So today we are talking about a movie called Facing Ali. It is a documentary from 2009, directed by Peter McCormack. And this one was really cool because, I've seen several Ali documentaries. There's, a million of them out there. Oh. This one I liked was specifically because it was his opponents speaking about their experiences in the ring with him. And if you're watching us on YouTube, which you totally should, so you can look at our handsome mugs, we've got a poster here with a list of the people that are actually interviewed. A lot of names that had a lot of good and bad experiences against Ali. So yeah, Jamieson, first thoughts. What do you think? What did you think about this documentary?
Very polarizing figure, and people like to throw that word around a lot, but Ali was very polarizing. Whenever you're able to get former opponents to get on record and speak about their experiences, good, bad, and ugly with someone, it's very impressive. And also, you can't do this for everybody. It's not for everyone. This is for only the greats. So no, this was different. This was actually really good. I guess film, I guess you could say it's kind of a documentary, but film, so to speak. It's definitely dope, but also they each have different situations with him because Joe Frazier and Larry Holmes have two totally different stories, right? Like totally different eras and everything. So it's all really, really fascinating. With that being said, though, we have never seen someone like Muhammad Ali in terms of an actual boxer. We haven't seen that since. And what I mean is, not only someone that can carry a fight, but that can make the public interested in boxing to where they only tune in to watch it. We haven't found that guy. Like, we've missed him since his prime or his later prime. We have not had a guy captivate, maybe Tyson, but just in general, a guy that's very, and it gives timing, the eras are different. So the boxing in the 70s, 80s was way different than it is today. But let me believe it's like Ali was a megastar, and he could have been in any era, and he would have got casual fans in any era. And we're lacking that now, is a better way of saying it.
Yeah, that's really, really well said. The thing I really liked about this most is because everybody talks about Ali and they always say greatest of all time. It's kind of cliche at this point. You could ask anybody, name a fighter that's ever lived in history, and most people who don't know anything about sports at all will probably know who Muhammad Ali is.
Right.
But I really liked that the people on the other end of those punches are literally talking about why he is so skilled and what they saw and what they felt, and them getting rocked, them not even being able to lay a hand on him. His heavyweight 6'1", I believe, I don't remember, but one of the fighters said he moved like he's little guy, and that's something that we talked about Tyson. He was under 6 feet tall, which is strange for a heavyweight, big beefy guy, but he moved light on his feet like he's just a middleweight dude. And so having that for somebody that at that weight class is just amazing. And it's so cool to hear the actual people that were there talk about they just remembering. I mean, my God, just remembering like the way they were able to try to get through his jabs, or they kind of got through his defense and this and that, and the way that these guys were like, I know I heard him. He played it off, but I know I heard him. Like I was there. Like I actually landed that punch. I know he was hurting during this match. Was so interesting because, you know, you could just say, you could watch it on a Leaf fight and it was like, he didn't get touched, he didn't get rocked. Yeah, he got hit, but it didn't phase him at all. But this is from either announcers, you know, audiences, but hearing from the people that were there is really, really, really cool. So I definitely appreciate that about this movie. Definitely something. This is something that you could just do for so many fighters. Like you just do the same format for Chavez, for Mayweather. Like I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't been done already. Like that people didn't rip off Pete McCormack's, I guess, format, rip off his whole flow.
Well, so back in the day, we didn't have All Access, we didn't have podcasts, we didn't have those things. So the incentive to do something like this back in the day is way different. Now you get on the podcast and share. You know, you can get 8 different guys that Floyd has fought and get different perspectives and whatnot. You can get 8 guys Terrence Crawford fought and get different perspectives on that. Back this time in the 2000s, kind of tricky, right? We didn't have podcasts like that. There was, you know, the docs and movies were different. So I can understand why that this was done, but not for a whole lot of others, because others is more of a YouTube short film, short story thing rather than an actual movie itself.
That's fair, and that's definitely something that technology has made a lot easier. But there is something about, you know, yeah, there's documentaries are still being made, even though you can still tell stories on podcasts. So I think that something like this for fine, maybe not a Mayweather, maybe not a Bud, but if you go back, let's say like early Tyson, you know, get his opponents up there who are still around. I think it would actually be very interesting. More so, how about this? I'd be more interested in that documentary that's in this format than another biopic, you know, with somebody playing.
Oh yeah,
you know, yeah. Like the biopics all take a certain. They're all a certain cliche format anyway. So something like this, I definitely think would hit. I think it would do great.
Agreed.
Another thing I liked is that each fighter also got to tell a little bit of their own story. So it's not just about the match, but also, you know, George Chuvalo, all of us is just talking about, you know, how he lost some kids. Kids passed away to drugs. His wife passed away as well. She committed suicide after one of their kids died, and it's really intense. You know, he went from just kind of being very upbeat, talking about how he hurt Ali, and Ali was definitely bleeding from the kidneys, and he went out dancing with his lady that night, and he was all, you know, super excited about it. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, he got super serious and went into the story, and every fighter gets their chance to tell a little bit something about themselves, and it was super cool because a lot of these names I've heard, some of them we know, like George Foreman, of course, right. But some of these names I've heard but don't know enough outside of them being Ali opponents. You know what I mean?
Right.
Ron Lyle is a guy who straight up said, like, yeah, I lost to Ali, but hey, if I hadn't, you wouldn't be sitting here talking to Ron Lyle, like, about what? That's true. Which is really funny. And I mean, he's right. You know, we know a lot of people know Joe Frazier, like I said, know George Foreman, but I didn't know Ron Lyle or much about Ernie Shavers either. So, yeah, it was really interesting and really enlightening about the sport itself, not just about the man Ali. They do go through a lot of history as well, and a lot of stuff that we as fight fans who've seen other movies already know about him refusing to go to Vietnam, about, you know, being suspended from boxing, going to jail, etc., whatever. So they do go through that history. So it is good for beginners. But at the end of the day, I think I liked more that it showed Ali's style changing over the years. And like you said, yeah, very different from when he fought Joe Frazier to when he fought, what is it?
Larry Holmes.
Sorry, Larry Holmes. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm looking at the names and I'm getting all mixed up. But yeah, when he fought Larry Holmes, you know, he was on his way out. Mm-hmm. You can also see just the difference in how he spoke, his cadence. You know, he was very fast on his feet. And then close to that fight, he was just kind of slowed down in his speech patterns, and it was a real bummer to watch. So,
Yep.
another thing I wanted to mention about this. So this is a tough. I'm going to tread carefully here. A lot of all these fighters are old guys. Okay.
Yep.
And a lot of them needed subtitles because it was very hard to understand.
Yeah.
And I think it really shows, like, is this because of what boxing did to them in their youth and how they're just very, I guess, we're very mumbly. We're just kind of difficult to understand. I mean, it takes a toll on you. What did you think about that part?
It's rough, man, because we know what it is. Like, we're not stupid. We know that sport is unforgiving. That sport is not a sport where you last long. It's not. So we understand the challenge that brings. We're both adults. We know how this works. Unfortunately, the game is the game. Unfortunately, they worked in a profession that had a lot of risk. So unfortunately, this is what happens.
Yeah, I mean, some of these guys are when this was made, I guess, in the '60s. And here's the thing: yeah, they sound very, very, very different than 60 isn't that old, 60,
No.
especially these days. So, but these guys, their speech patterns, their cadence, the way this developed, it was a little hard to watch, to be honest. Even as a fan of boxing, I was like, the way somebody comes out on the other side, it was just kind of, it's kind of hit like a ton of bricks watching one guy after another just kind of have difficulties speaking clearly. And it was a little messed up, to be quite honest with you.
And remember, the medical back then was not like what it is today.
Absolutely. So, but it was a sobering reminder of, we watch the sport and we can critique it. We say we have a lot of fun watching it, or, talk a lot of shit about fighters, this and that. But you're right. It is unforgiving. And we always have to remember that the human element of people getting into that ring, they're getting fucked up. Like they are not, you don't play boxing and you don't, just go in there. You don't go in there unprepared and you don't go in there without knowing the risks. You can't.
Facts.
And my hat's off to all these guys. Just final thoughts on this, Jamieson, and overall on the documentary.
Like you said, we need more of these for other guys. Even if it's a short film, I think just the overall boxing knowledge is cool. I think Floyd, Crawford, Canelo, De La Hoya fought like 85 people, so it'd be cool to have that. But just in general, I think it would be more good than harm if we have more of these types, because it really gives you a detailed emphasis on the matchups and also each fighter.
Yeah, Pete McCormack, I don't know what you're up to these days, but although I did see, I had not heard of this guy, but he also made a Bruce Lee documentary that I'm definitely going to check out. Okay. And last year, apparently, he did a Joe Frazier documentary. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I'm calling now. We're going to see Pete McCormack's movie back on this show very soon on this first segment. So, definitely really cool, really interesting. And another thing too is for fighters, I guess, even the '90s, because we're washed and we're getting up there. If a movie like this is going to be made, it has to be soon for a lot of these guys, for the same reasons we just mentioned, not just age, but their limited faculties after boxing for so long. Oscar De La Hoya fought a lot and he still seems to be on his game, hasn't slowed down a bit, but I don't know. That's surprising to me, honestly, that Oscar is still as
Oscar didn't take a lot of punishment, though, if you think about it.
That's true. That's a good point.
He didn't take any wild, he got beat in a few fights, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm worried about his health beat. He just got outclassed at times, especially at the end. But I don't remember him taking any really bad punishment per se.
That's a good point. That's, I guess, kind of the same thing with Chavez. I mean, yeah, he wasn't exactly, he got beat several times, but yeah, there was never him getting, knocked down over and over and over, hitting the canvas, getting rocked over and over. So yeah, that would make sense. But I don't know if it can be, even if it could be like I said, a podcast series of fighters who are lesser known, who have fought the big names over the years, whatever it is. I absolutely love this format, and I think it's super cool and interesting. And I think it's very enlightening for non-boxing fans as well. Nobody's really talking technically about the way they're moving. Like, I don't know, just like, oh, I threw a 3 and then I threw a 6 and then I got caught with this because I moved, this on this side of the ring, blah, blah. They're just being very clear about what they're trying to do, how they're trying to land punches to the body, to the head, get on the inside.
Right.
Nothing too technical that a newbie can't pick up on. But yeah, so on this show, we always rate movies out of 4 gloves. It's always weird rating documentaries because they're not like, narratives. But Jameson, out of 4 gloves, how would you rate Facing Ali from 2009?
3.3333333.
Okay.
It was good. It wasn't perfect, but it was really good. Like, it was really, really good.
What keeps you from rating it higher? Or like, what keeps it from being a full 4?
It was kind of simple. Like there wasn't anything that like I learned through it per se, and it wasn't something where the way it was done. Like, I appreciate the concept of it, but it wasn't anything that was like groundbreaking or anything like that. Like they got people that we knew of, they asked them, they interviewed them, and that was kind of it. There was nothing really outside of that was like mind blowing, in my opinion per se. But I think it was shot well. I think it was done well professionally. I just didn't see anything that was like, oh wow, this should get a 4 or a 3.75.
Sure, no, that's fair. I mean, yeah, and what I liked about it wasn't that it was very enlightening, that I got a lot of new knowledge about it. For me, it was just that new perspective on Ali, and from these fighters who were actually there, and just kind of seeing how just what they look like now and what they sound like was just really, really interesting. So I'll go 3.5 on it. Still very solid, still good time, and yeah, definitely worth your time if you're interested in boxing and learning about it. Okay, so Jamieson, where can people find you on social media?
On Twitter at the Jamieson, usually on there. Hopefully get some great fight nights. I know we got some guys coming up, and if not for this year, we got some guys coming up early next year. Hopefully, we still don't have a Teofimo, and Teofimo's supposed to fight
Shakur.
There you go. We still don't have that lined up, and it's odd to me. So, whatever. Sooner than later, hopefully.
Yeah, they said it'd be for January, and there's always something coming up they're still working on. I mean, just do the fight, just do the damn fight. Give us something to look forward to in the new year. Just give us some slight amount of joy to look forward to in this this life of ours.
Right.
Great. Well, you can follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Mixed Co Podcasts. Subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. Please leave us a 5-star review. We work hard for y'all. It only takes a minute, and it helps us out more than you can possibly know. And watch us on YouTube. The link is on the show notes, or you can find our playlist on the 19 Media Group channel. Give it a like, give it a subscribe, give us a comment there. We have an official show email address. If you have questions, fun stories about watching boxing in a mixed company, send it all to letters@mixedcopodcast.com. And don't forget, we drop new episodes every other Thursday, so please join us again on November 20th, because we'll be previewing David Benavidez' return to the ring on Saturday the 22nd. Probably the new face of Mexican boxing, as far as I'm concerned. But we'll talk more about that. We have been the Mixed Company Podcast, a 19 Media Group production. Thank you so much for listening, and salud.
Salud.